God and Other Delicacies has a weekly newsletter. If you'd like to subscribe, email me at godsdelicateshow@gmail.com and I'll put you on the list. Hello, everyone. Welcome to God and Other Delicacies. I'm Nicholas D'Augusto. I have another wonderful guest that is joining me today to talk about God. I'm a very lucky person. Let's get into it. Today, I have the privilege of welcoming Amanda Payton to the show. Amanda is a television, film, and stage actor. Her many credits include The Big Bang Theory, Workaholics, Animal Kingdom, NCIS, and Modern Family. Cooler than all that, though, is the fact that she starred with me in season 2 of Trial and Error, where we all lived in Vancouver for a couple of months, and she made friends with every local she met. Welcome to the show, Amanda.
Hi, Nick.
Hi. I'm so glad that tickled you.
Yeah, I like that.
I was ready for that. I was ready to sing that joke.
I wasn't ready for it, but I
didn't want to give it away. You were. Oh, I feel like every time I would talk to you, you'd be like, I'm going out with my yoga instructor, my neighbor, and
I wasn't on set quite as much as you. You were, Nick was on set like literally 5 a.m. till like 9 p.m. and then turned around and got right back up and went back.
Yeah.
Well, and you were going home every weekend.
I was going every other weekend.
Yeah,
Exactly. Yeah, that was hard.
So I had to just make a family there in Vancouver.
Yeah,
so
you did, man. Yeah. You lived it. I would often, look, I loved my job. I'm not complaining. I loved being there. And I know you wanted to be on set as much as possible too, but you definitely made the most of I would talk to you and you'd be like, yeah, I'm getting a city tour from like a new friend and she's amazing. And I'm just spending the day and the weather was beautiful.
Yeah.
And
I made some friends in my building, which was nice.
Yeah.
It was nice. I
also wanted to bring up that you had talked to me about this, but you did Noches con Platanito.
Yeah.
For those people who don't know, Noches con Platanito is a popular Mexican late night show, and the host is a clown. Mm-hmm. The host dresses as a clown. Mm-hmm. He's really funny, and it's
all in Spanish.
Yeah, it's all in Spanish. But as you know, many of us who go on the show don't speak fluent Spanish, and so. They give you a little earbud and someone is translating for you and they're doing it so quickly. They're translating. Amazing. It's amazing. They're truly a half second to a second behind. So
there is 1 second lag where you're just looking at this clown, smiling and nodding your head, and trying to very quickly preempt what the question's going to be so that you can jump on it because you feel like an idiot.
Yeah, it's one thing to do that when you see those remote broadcasts and they're interviewing somebody out in the fields and they're nodding at the TV and then finally the sound comes through. But we're doing that sitting right next to somebody.
It was fun. It was a challenge. You know how they sold it to me?
No,
they were like, "Well, Nick did it."
Oh, okay. Well, I'm glad.
I was like, okay.
That's the classic. If Nick jumped off a bridge. Yeah. I had a good time though.
It was fun.
What did they? It's a really fun, ridiculous show. I did. I had
the go-karts.
The go-karts.
Yeah,
and also I did a lip sync.
Yes.
What did you do?
I did, and I was wearing my heels and my sparkly dress that I got, and I did basketball.
So you were looking banging.
Yeah, but I did basketball. So what happened is that the clown, what's his name? Platanito. Because you kept on, I remember watching yours, and you kept calling him by his name, which is Platanito.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, you were like, Platanito.
Oh, did I?
Yeah,
man, that's great.
You were good.
That's great. You know what? I remember he gave me his wig. He let me wear his wig.
He didn't give it to me.
Well, I'm sorry, but
did you ask?
Clearly,
for it?
I don't know. Maybe he felt that my hair was
a problem.
It was a lesser,
not big enough.
It was a lesser than.
My hair is big enough.
Well, your hair is just rad. Your hair is cool. It's got style. It's got personality.
So is yours.
Thank you.
Yeah, you got a thick head of hair.
I don't know. Maybe Platanito doesn't think so.
Maybe not. But so he was the basketball hoop. So they put a hoop on him, and then they strung him up from the ceiling, and then he had a face mask on,
But you're actually shooting basketballs at
him.
Platanito. Mm-hmm. That's fantastic.
I lost, but it's fine.
Yeah, but
actually,
what a great gig.
I came in second. There were 3 of us playing.
That's pretty good.
So I didn't lose. And I was the only one wearing
How many did you sink?
I don't remember. Oh, but he's going up and down, and he's also blocking shots.
So he's rejecting you?
Yeah.
So he's choosing
who
wins.
Or sometimes he would grab it and drop it in.
Oh, so he's totally manipulating the game.
Yeah.
Okay, I see.
Yeah.
Okay, well, Amanda, what did you have for breakfast this morning?
I have pretty much the same thing every morning, which is oatmeal with a spoonful of whatever nut butter I want that morning.
How many nut butters do you have?
I have like 3 or 4.
What are the choices are?
Almond butter, homemade almond butter.
Homemade?
You can make your own almond butter. You just you toast the almonds.
I imagine like a huge sledgehammer. Like
no. You need like a NutriBullet or like one of those hardcore blenders.
Okay.
So I have one of those.
Okay.
And you blend it up and you put you can put vanilla in there. You can put cocoa powder.
Sounds amazing.
Whatever you want. Yeah. Wow. Then I also have like store-bought almond butter. I also kind of like tahini, which is weird because it's not sweet.
I love tahini, but tahini in your oatmeal.
In the oatmeal. It's weird. I like it though. Today I had peanut butter.
Tahini is sesame, right?
Yeah. It's just sesame butter.
Yeah. I love tahini. So hold on. Peanut butter, 2 kinds of almond butter.
Right.
Because you never know what you're in the mood for.
And then I have like those little packets of the nut butters too. Like those little, I think it's made by like Justin's or something. And they have like almond vanilla.
Yeah.
Almond.
Justin's makes those chocolates
hazelnut.
Too, they have chocolate bars, like peanut butter.
I'm not a
like
big
Reese's
chocolate person, which is weird, I know, but.
Somebody else came on the show. Jesselyn was talking about it. No. Jesselyn's daughter doesn't like it, and Jesselyn loves
right.
sweets.
I was just,
So you're not a big sweets person?
I love sweets.
What sweets do you like?
I love Splenda.
Oh yeah. She only says it like that. That's really funny. I wish people could have seen her face.
I wish I didn't say that. That's not even real. Chemical.
Well,
I love it in my tea.
So I buy everyone a drink at the studio, Coffee Bean, and she chose a tea, and then she was like sort of sheepishly told me, she's like, okay, now I'm going to get 5 Splendas, and then we talked about Splenda, and you did get 5 Splendas, and so that's why she said it like that. I was 5
with a small one, and then you pushed me to get a medium-sized drink, so I put. Like,
you're right, I did push you. I feel bad. I feel like when you buy someone a gift, you shouldn't. If you're buying someone a drink, you don't want them to get a small. That doesn't feel generous.
I hear that.
You want to be like, look, even if you don't want it, I'll feel better if you get a medium.
But I am the kind of person
I don't want to feel like you didn't get enough.
I will not throw anything away. So I will eat the whole thing or drink the whole thing.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you're clearly balancing it somewhere in your life, because it's not like you're not overeating and you're not oversplending. Apparently.
I am definitely oversplending.
Okay. Yeah. How could I possibly get that from an appearance? You look like the kind of person who's not oversplending, and you're like, no, I am.
Because you know how unhealthy it is, and it's not showing yet. I don't look like I'm ingesting large amounts of chemicals.
I feel like we've talked a lot about breakfast already, but I just want to say that my wife brought home something from a shoot that she did, because she's a food photographer, and it was pistachio butter.
See, that sounds delicious.
And I tried it. It was really good.
You should put that in some oatmeal.
That's what she said.
That's
what she said, actually. Now that you tell me this, both of you have this brilliant what to do with oatmeal.
I put it in like a dollop of it.
Yeah.
That's the technical term
for
what I do. I put in a dollop of it, and then I get a little bit on the spoon in the middle, right? And then I get a little bit on the spoon, and then a little bit of oatmeal. So it's not all mixed in. I can choose how much per bite.
Yeah, I totally respect that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm into that.
Yeah.
Well, great. Well, then, we've got to talk again soon about pistachio butter and tahini.
Yeah, let me know how it goes when you put that pistachio
I'll let you know about the tahini.
Yeah.
All right. Here we go. How and when were you introduced to the idea of God in your life?
So I was prepared for this question, but it's a little jarring.
Is it?
Yeah, it's just like, okay, breakfast and God.
Yeah, that's what somebody else talked about.
Yeah.
I'm okay with it. How do you feel? Does it feel?
I just feel like a clunky transition for me. But let's get into it. Let's just jump in.
I don't know. Here's the thing: is I've thought about that. And a couple of people have mentioned it.
I like it.
Everybody does sort of acknowledge the change, which I think is fine. I think everybody's got a kind of like a comment on it. It's the way that we allow ourselves some time. We buy ourselves time, right? We buy our brain some time. We're like, wow, here we go. And what's happening is our brain's trying to formulate the question or formulate the answer. I'm okay with it. I think it's funny.
I think that the word God, and tell me if it's different for you, but even just speaking about your belief in God, it's kind of, it makes you a little tense, or it makes me a little tense.
For sure.
Just because it's such a hot button topic and people have such strong views on it, and you don't know who's in the room, who you're talking to, who you're going to offend. You're going to offend someone.
Yes.
Yeah. And
you're not going to offend me.
No one knows firsthand. Well, maybe some people do. You hear people having near-death experiences and these kinds of things and feeling that they know
You can
firsthand.
Acknowledge that other people believe they do.
Yes, that's a really good way of putting it.
There's no way to empirically test that.
It's all about faith.
Yeah.
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 So
or lack thereof.
So I grew up, my mom is Jewish and my dad was Christian. And so I grew up kind of with a foot in both worlds. So they were talking about God when I was a baby, but my first like cognizant realization of God was, I remember sitting in temple. So it must have been, we didn't go to temple every week or anything. It must have been like a high holiday or, someone's bar mitzvah.
Yeah, can you talk about an age that you think you might be?
Maybe 4 or 5.
Okay, very early memories.
And I remember for something clicking because I remember seeing the Torah and knowing what a Bible was and being like, what, is that their Bible or what's happening? And I remember it clicking to me. I think my dad said, the Torah is basically just the First Testament, like before Jesus comes into the Bible. That's what the Torah is. So basically we all believe in like the same God and then the details are different.
Yeah.
And I was just like, whoa, okay, so everyone has the same God and the details are different. So that was my first real broad understanding of God. And I still have a similar understanding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I find that, charming and kind of beautiful, especially from a look, it's interesting. What you're speaking about is that it both works in a sort of charming, childlike way. And at the same time too, we can start to talk more about this stuff, become more articulate in all the many things of what those details are. But at the end of the day, it sort of cycles back to a person could say, we all sort of have the same God and the details are different. Now,
and the name is different, and some people call it Allah, and some people call it higher power, some people call it Spirit, Holy Father.
Yeah.
Whatever it is.
I like that point of view. Now, I will say that other people will disagree with that.
Absolutely.
Not surprisingly.
And that was also my childlike understanding of it at that point.
Yeah. And and I get that that's like still something that can be, I think that's an open and articulate, that's an open and receptive way of thinking even today. But when you can say that Jews and Christians and Muslims have the same God because they do all start from the Old Testament and then they follow out their prophets from there, Jesus and Muhammad. But then we have the multiple gods of different religions and then but still like,
but just the idea of something being bigger than me. That there's some mystery around. As simple as that.
Well, I think that's beautiful. We're not ending the show right now. That feels like that could be an ending, but it's not. And okay, so first question, some basics. Mm-hmm. What type of Christian denomination was your father?
So when my parents got together, my mom's Jewish, she's 18.
Where are they in the country?
They're in New York.
They're in New York.
They're in college.
Like in New York City.
Yeah, they were at Stony Brook University.
Okay.
So my dad,
and they're the same age.
No. So my mom had graduated high school early and really just was like, I'm gunning to be a grown up.
Okay.
Right? And so she went to college and she's 18. My dad, so she's Jewish and from Queens and white.
Okay.
My dad is black from Harlem, had to like fight his way.
Both from the boroughs?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
But my dad's family, like, they don't just automatically go to college and they don't have the money to just go to college and they're not just going to send him to college, right?
Did you say that he's from Harlem? Did you say Queens and
Harlem?
Did you say something about in Harlem? Did you say something about fight? Did I hear something?
Yeah, like fight his way out.
Fight his way out. Okay,
yes.
yeah.
Because it's not normal to go to college.
Right.
His family owned a store and it was like, okay, are you going to take over the family store? So he, after having a couple kids, went to Alaska to work there to do very dangerous work to make money and then come back and go to college. So by the time he made it back and into college, so he's 28 now.
Wow.
And my mom's 18.
Did you say he had
a
two
couple
kids?
Couple kids
before he met your mother?
Before he met my mother.
Wow, fascinating.
So now he's 28 with a couple kids, black guy. My mom's 18. Imagine like Jewish parents, just like you're going to college and we're very overprotective. And then she goes, oh, this is my new boyfriend. He's 28. He's black. And he's got a couple kids by a couple different women.
Wow.
But we're going to be together. And yeah.
That's That's amazing. Yeah. So how does that? So continue that story from there.
How does that? It.
Right. So how do they?
And my mom was shocked because she was raised to not be racist.
Right.
But it's different when it comes into your own home like that.
Were they very overtly like? Were they just like?
So I was
trying
kept
to
from
be.
This.
Right, because you this is right.
Because
obviously
this
you're
part
not
of the
one of the children that's born. You're born later. How soon are you?
I'm my mother's only child.
Okay, so how soon after they are together?
A long time.
Okay.
Yeah, my mom had me at like 36, so she's 18 now only. Yeah.
She had 18 years of being with your dad. No, yeah, about 18 or maybe 15 or something. So somewhere in the middle of college, she meets your father.
Yes.
So she's not 18 when she meets him.
She is 18.
She is 18
when she meets
him.
him.
So it's 18 years until she has
like
you.
A whole lifetime together without me.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And then your dad then
is like 46. Yeah.
Is an older dad.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
But he also looked like so young. Like no one realized that he was older.
Okay. Yeah.
Black don't crack.
This is what I hear.
Black don't crack.
Is it true? I don't know. Do you feel like that's a phrase that's a phrase that I'm uncomfortable with?
It's like funny.
I feel uncomfortable with the phrase.
I love that I get to say it.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah.
And so I don't know.
There's a lot I can say.
But is it like one of those things where like if you are given that skin tone, are you kind of like, yeah, there's actually something to that. Like this skin tone is just really resilient or something?
I get told I look younger, but I feel like all my friends do kind of.
Yeah.
We like take care of ourselves. We put lotion on our faces and we don't sit out in the sun.
Yeah, right. Okay. Yeah. I'm just wondering if that's like actually, it's like, is it a funny thing to say or is it something that, I actually think that's a stereotype that works. I mean, I
do think my dad looked incredibly young for a long time.
Right, and he probably wasn't like heavily lotioning himself.
No. Maybe you don't see wrinkles as easily.
Well,
darker melanin.
Yeah, there you go. Maybe that's it. Yeah, I don't know. That's great. Okay, so your mother
she's 18.
She's 18. And so there's a long period of, did they get married right away?
No.
They probably so they're partners for a long time.
They drove to California in a little buggy, like a little bug.
Okay.
And had like no money, and they just like sold clothes on Venice Beach and like lived in a trailer on the beach and like ate peanuts and saved up their money.
Wow.
And ended up buying an apartment building, which is still paying for like everything.
That's amazing.
They just bought an apartment building. It's like a quadruplex, but
what a smart.
We're not there yet.
Okay.
But so they just kind of like shut out the family because they weren't receptive to it, and they did eventually come around when I was born. But I didn't have a close relationship to my grandparents.
Wow. Okay. So this is actually. We got to take a break real soon here, and I want to get back to that question real quick, which is, okay, I'm going to write that down at the break. Okay, thanks, Amanda. See you in a second. Hey, everybody, we're back. So, Amanda, your mom brings your father home, and they don't like the reception. Mm-hmm. We don't have to go into the specifics, but basically,
I don't know the specifics. I just know that it wasn't. I mean, reasonably, it doesn't look good.
Right. It's racial.
He's 10 years older. That's hard for any parent.
Sure.
He has other kids. That's hard for any parent. The kids are like half the age of my mom, who's 18.
Right, that's interesting.
That's hard.
Right.
And then on top of that, he's black, which is difficult because at the time that's going to make life difficult, and it's going to be difficult for any kid born. If I was born right then, my life would have looked very different.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah.
And so they bail. They leave. They take, as you said, they drove across the country to California.
Yeah.
And essentially, from what you understand, because you weren't born at this time, but the stories are told to you that your mother basically didn't speak to her parents for...
Not deep. It was maybe surface level stuff. Yeah.
But 15 to 18 years before you were born, they're building their life out in California.
Yeah.
And she sort of rejects her family.
Well, she felt rejected by her family.
She felt rejected by them, exactly. But they part. They separate.
They still spoke and, loved each other. But it just, it's tough when you're in love with someone who...
Did your mom, act as a mother to her stepchildren?
Or
did they not need a mother?
That's also like a tough. So because they were still in New York.
Okay.
There are stories of my mom. Like I remember my mom saying like she was like 18 and like they would all go to the beach and like my mom would take the kids and like they'd all be showering together and it's like, I mean, she was 18 and these kids, and my dad had his first kid at 16, so that would make the kid, I'm bad at fast math, a 12-year-old, so a 12-year-old and an 18-year-old, so that's like sibling time.
Yeah.
But my mom would be, so they like hung with them and played with them. I don't think they really knew how to parent yet.
So what are they doing? So then they're 18 years in California. You told me that they start.
My mom's in school for dancing.
Okay,
my
cool.
Dad,
she's an artist.
Yeah,
she was a performance artist.
Yeah, and my dad was like acting. He was in school for acting. He did a lot of like stage stuff.
So they're both performers.
Yeah, and like playing.
Cool.
They were chill.
Cool.
They were super hippies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right on.
Yeah.
I mean, they're driving a VW Bug.
VW Bug across
Come on.
Yeah.
They were like, they had it all.
They were living in a camper and like saving all their money to buy an apartment complex.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so they're doing all that. Obviously, he's doing what he needs to do to be a dad to the other kids,
I think it was mostly sending money back and phone calls.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Okay.
Just not
But these
ready
two,
to be.
yeah, they were young. He was 16 or whatever.
He was when he had
he had them. Yeah. So he was like, didn't know what the hell was going on.
Yeah.
That's amazing. He went to Alaska to make money, comes back. I mean, this is an upstanding dude. He's trying to kind of make up for whatever choices he fell into at an early age. Does he stay close to his parents? Did you know his parents?
Kind of. Again, I'm not super close to either of my grandparents. I'm now close with my uncle, my dad's brother. Actually, it's a half brother. But I'm now close with my uncle. But that kind of happened when my dad was passing away that we became close.
Well, yeah, and I knew about this, but I'm sorry that your dad passed away. Yeah. How long ago was that?
I think it was like 3 years now. I kind of am like losing track of it.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So what happens is like essentially you come into life with two loving parents in California, but kind of no real family unit around you.
No, it was the three of us.
It's just
and
the
I'm
three
an
of
only
you.
child, so it was like it was us against the world.
And are you both going to Christian masses as well, or Christian services as well as?
So what happened right before I was born is that my parents did a kind of a circuit of what religion do we want to be. So they looked into a lot of different things. They got very spiritual, and they settled on Christianity. But my mom didn't want to lose her Jewish roots. And, Judaism it's matriarchal, so it's passed down by your mother. So that would make me 100% Jewish. She's a Cohen. I'm a Cohen. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I grew up with mostly the Christian teachings, but then we would do Passover and then I had a lot of friends who were Jewish, and they taught me to meditate, and it was a little confusing as a kid.
Okay, right on.
It was just a little confusing, but it was mostly the Christian faith, mostly. Which as I grew up, started to have a lot of questions about and confusion about, and started kind of rebelling against.
In what ways?
Anytime that someone's like, well, we don't really answer that.
Oh, yeah.
Or we don't look at that. My personality is to be like, no, that's what we need to look at. So just things like anything from like, in the Christian faith, if you don't say I believe in Jesus as my Lord and Savior in a formal way, then you go to hell. That was a problem for me. I mean, it's the textbook thing. Like, what about? So some people are like, I said that before I even really knew what it meant. So I'm just automatically safe to go to heaven. But someone born into a different place or time where that belief isn't just like handed to them as a child, they go to hell.
Right.
Or what if a baby dies before they can even say anything?
Right.
And then there were some beliefs. I think we went to a lot of different churches, so it wasn't like one denomination. And then we went to a church, if I'm not mistaken, I might be mistaken because it's all a blur, but where it was, I remember hearing like, if a bullet is going through, if someone, I don't know where I'm getting this from, but I think a church, if someone's waiting in line to get baptized in the jungle and a bullet is going through because someone's shooting at some animal and hits them and they die and they haven't yet got baptized, then they go to hell? Because if there's like some belief where if
really?
I don't.
I mean, look, I'm not doubting this because if that's in your brain, it's in your brain for a reason. But that's extraordinary what people come up with.
If you don't get baptized, then you go to hell. Yeah. What about these like kids? It doesn't make sense.
Okay, so what's interesting here is that like, how's your dad responding to this then? Or I mean, I could talk about your mom too, but your dad is the one who's kind of
to my questions.
Yeah, like
it was kind of shut down. It was kind of shut down.
He didn't want to answer them.
There's not really an answer.
Like he.
Well, how do you answer that? If you believe that you have to say I believe that God is my Lord and Savior, otherwise you go to hell, and someone says, what happens? What about the kids? How do you answer that?
Well,
sorry, they go to hell.
Yeah. Well,
sorry, little girl.
I think that, that your father has an option to be like, well, I don't believe that.
So it was kind of skated over.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think he knew the answer, and like he didn't know how to tell a kid that.
Right. That's interesting though. So, but
I think it's tough a lot of times for parents, and also that's like one of the that's one of the troubles with religion is there's very little room for I don't know. Mm-hmm. So when I redefined what God was for me, there's a lot of I don't know around that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I certainly live there. I have a show about it.
Yeah.
But see, okay. Also, by the way, I listen to myself so much on the show. I do this a lot. Okay, okay. That's something
I've listened to it and I didn't notice it.
No, it's fine.
But
this is like a meta thing. Does this start to drive a wedge between you and your dad?
I'd say.
Because you said you started to rebel. Are you rebelling against faith in general? Are you Did your dad Did your dad start sort of acting as the? Did he sort of catch the brunt of it?
It was tough because there was a lot of like, if I was going through a hard time and I needed to talk about it in a more like, if I needed a more like therapeutic approach, the Bible would be pulled out often, and I was resentful of that.
He's a faithful dude.
He always had the Bible on the kitchen table.
No.
Yeah.
See, this is getting bigger than I thought.
And bigger than that, we'll get like controversial here. So I was spanked, right? So
okay.
Spare the rod and spoil the child. And when I would be like, I don't like this, like I don't want to get spanked anymore, he would say like, I'm doing this because this is in the Bible, like spare the rod and spoil the child. So it was hard for me to like look at the Bible in a loving way. Also in the Bible, right, God is a jealous God.
Right.
And all of these like, it didn't feel safe for me. It felt like if I questioned anything, I would be in trouble with God, and God knows my mind, but I'm having these questions. And then
absolutely,
and then there's like the whole sex thing, right? So like no sex before marriage,
right?
And then it's like, but all my friends are having sex. Like I'm really confused.
And by the way, you were having sex.
Well, I didn't for a while.
I'm sorry. I mean, I'm talking to your dad. Like you had children at 16.
Right. No, but I didn't even. Like,
I also had
that was swept under the rug. There was a lot swept under the rug, and for me,
that's a lot of religion about that.
Yes, and a lot of people can handle that.
Aspects of religion.
For me, it felt like gaslighting. And it was problematic for me.
Define gaslighting for those people, because I want you to
gaslight.
This is only a recent phrase for me.
It's basically, I don't know the exact definition of it, but it's like I feel crazy because I feel like I know something's going on,
right,
and like it's not being talked about and it's being turned around and convoluted.
The gaslighting, someone is gaslighting you if they're making you feel crazy. They're making you feel crazy about things that you should be questioning, actually.
Right.
They're manipulating
It's most commonly used for like if someone's cheating in a relationship and
right.
and the other partner is like, hey, you're cheating, and the person gaslights them. It's like, you're insane. How could you even think that?
Right.
Like
the whole
that's
time
so
they're
crazy.
Lying. Yeah.
They're lying. Yeah.
Yeah. This is a phrase I just kind of got tuned into because I'm so outside the mainstream now, because basically all I do is change diapers.
Yeah, yeah.
But and do this show.
So
I change diapers and I talk about God.
Yeah.
But no, that's great. So I'm glad that came up, and I needed to be refreshed, and maybe some of the audience needed to be refreshed.
Yes. But
okay,
look it up because I don't know the exact definite. Look it up.
But this is what you're saying is that your father did not. Maybe he had guilt about that. He had regrets.
Yeah, I think he was just doing the best that he could with the tools that he had, and wanted to raise me to be like a God-fearing, that's like as a positive, like a God-fearing child.
He thought it was
which guess what? I did.
Yeah,
I grew up to be a God-fearing person, but that's
not in the way that he thought.
Right. He like wanted me to not make decisions that he made, you know?
Right.
So, and to make my life easier, and he wanted to give me the easiest life possible, and he had a couple other kids who he didn't get to do that for. So it was like double downtime for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How does your mother interact in all of this? So your mother's watching you get spanked. Your mother's seeing the Bible on the table.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, I got to say, this was fascinating because I wasn't expecting it to go. She did.
Yeah.
See, I didn't expect it to go this way because, you know, you start with hippie and all of this stuff, and, you know, you're going to multiple denominations and you're checking out what is spiritual. God, it seems to me more broad-minded.
It also, like, that's also part of where it was like, I don't know how to marry these two.
Right.
Like, the dichotomy here is crazy.
No, this is frankly, I mean, there's hypocrisy here.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, look, these are difficult things to talk about and to think about. But, you know, there's hypocrisy because on one level you're enacting the rules of one religion, and yet you're saying be open to all, and, you know, that one religion isn't necessarily right, and yet you're getting the punishment from one. Okay, so go on.
Right. So
your mother converts, and how does she stand with all this?
My mother converts, but she, like, holds on to her Jewish roots. And, like, that's able to happen because the Torah is the Old Testament, and then she's like, well, we add to it now. Like, that's kind of how it was explained. I believe that, and
it's like improv.
Yes,
and.
Yes.
Okay, so go on.
So, you know, I don't know exactly what was in her mind at the time. We went to church. She kind of just like stood by my father. She kind of just stood by, and I think at the time I thought that they were her beliefs fully too. But I do know that after he died, she doesn't believe in God anymore.
Interesting.
Yeah, which is also, I mean, that's part of her grief.
Okay.
So I think I'll have a better understanding of this in like 5 years.
Yeah.
To see where this goes.
Well, I appreciate you talking about it.
Yeah.
I know it's hard to go into these things at times, and you never know. Of course, I never know where we're going to end up in certain things, and I definitely went through emotional struggles, as I came of age in my religion and had to sort of figure out what these ideas mean. So I was talking earlier about, we started talking earlier about the difficulties you were having with your dad. Clearly, you have an immense love for your dad. How did you balance that? Like, where was your dad making a lot of sense for you in your life as you were growing up? What was he giving to you that was making a lot of sense? So you had this one section, which is the religious side, that's like difficult and not working.
You mean outside of religion?
Outside of religion. Like, where do you and your dad connect on the deeper level so that you have that very difficult children's dichotomy?
We have so much in common. Like, we're the same person.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was tough growing up because, you know, when you're a teenager, if you're like up against your own self, it's tough. But it was almost like a sibling relationship at times. Like, we would just have a lot of fun together.
Cool.
You know? And he would just teach me to just be creative with everything. We used to go to the zoo and draw the animals.
Oh, right on.
That would be fun for us. Yeah.
So he's a super
fun.
Artist,
he would take me and my friends to Disneyland. He'd always be like the dad who was like up to go to Disneyland.
Right on.
He'd take me to the park every day. He was a very present figure in my life.
So basically, almost everything about your memories with him are very positive. They're very creative. They're very enlightening.
I mean,
you know?
There's good and bad.
But
I see that he was doing the best that he could,
right,
and that he did a great job with me.
Yeah,
and there were some things that his best didn't work for my personality, but I'm also like so sensitive, and I don't think either of my parents were like ready for such a sensitive person. I'm way more sensitive than both of them.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Well, with their powers combined, right? You know, I feel like that might be happening with my son.
Yeah.
So when do you start articulating your own thoughts in opposition to, like, on a grander scale?
Oh, I would like mouth off a lot as a kid, but I was mouthing off against everything, not just the religious pieces.
Okay.
And when I would be in a lot of pain and religion was offered to me. Like, I had a hard time in college. I think most people do. I was like also an only child and just so sensitive and just like sent off to like Pittsburgh to a conservatory where they like cut people and like,
yeah, man.
And it was hard for me. And I remember my dad got me like a bunch of like T.D. Jakes tapes, he's like a preacher, kind of a more like mainstream.
Okay, I don't know that name. Yeah, but he was
black.
But he's a radio personality.
Yeah,
radio preacher.
Yeah. Joel Osteen too.
Yeah, I've heard of Joel.
Yeah, he also got me Joel Osteen tapes, and I remember freshman year being in the dorm and just being in so much pain and like looking to God in that way, like through listening to T.D. Jakes and Joel Osteen. And
I didn't realize Joel Osteen's been around that long.
Yeah.
So is he quite old right now?
I'm not that old, Nick.
Well, but God, that's a good reminder.
No, he
right?
was
That's
around.
actually a good reminder because I'm like almost 40 and you're not.
No,
so,
but he's not. He was around. He was young. Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, my family listens to Joel Osteen.
Yeah, he's been around forever.
Yeah, I actually haven't. It reminds me that I haven't listened to his stuff, but but he sounds positive, you know. So you're trying to have a.
So I was looking to. You know when you're in
of,
pain, like you
right.
move at the speed of your pain, kind of, or I do.
I like that
move
phrase.
at the speed of my
need to
pain.
Think about that a little.
So
bit
like
more.
I'll be stagnant until I'm in enough pain to change.
Okay, cool.
I think that's
that.
Similar for most people if they need to make a change in their life.
You know, a dear friend of mine said to me once, I like your phrase. I think it's bigger than I can take in 1 second. So I'm kind of trying to I'm trying to like meditate on it for a second. You move at the speed of your pain. A friend of mine, he was actually one of my early mentors. I've mentioned him on the show before. He was one of my teachers in college, and he once told me that you'll move on when you get bored of the feeling. You know, when I used to think about early on, I'd talk about like being in a heartbreak or something like that, or, you know, dealing with some sort of whatever early anxiety.
Yeah.
And he'd be like, you know, someday you're just going to get bored of handling this feeling.
Yeah.
And you're just going to let it go. And
that's like the gentle way. I take a lot of less. That's very gentle and very like, yeah. You know, I tend to, I don't know, maybe I'm so sensitive.
It crescendos for you.
Yes.
It crescendos for you.
Yeah.
And basically, so you reached a critical moment in college where
I reached a couple, and I reached for different things, right? Like even just like getting really drunk and whatever
right,
it
yeah,
is.
partying.
Like,
It was just a very common
eating
thing.
everything in sight.
Yeah. That's when you started the Splenda thing.
Yes,
you know, just like snorting Splenda.
Yeah, and God, let's try that. Like literally anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was one of the things that I tried.
And it worked for how long?
I don't think it really worked. I think I needed like cognitive changes more than just like a prayer and comforting words. I think I needed to change things and grow up, like growing pains. It's hard. I do have a relationship with God now, which was born out of pain and when watching my dad die of cancer over like a prolonged period of time.
How many years?
Well, his prostate specific numbers were up 10 years before he died, but really slowly. It was like the last 3 or 4 years that was a quicker decline.
Right.
But my relationship with my God now is a very like, I don't know. I'm not sure. Let's try this. But like now I have like conversations with God. I'll like curse God out. I'll be like, this frickin', I'm not going to curse on this radio show.
You can
God.
Totally curse on this radio show.
Okay, but I'll be like, you know what, God? Like, fuck this. Honestly, like, I really wanted this thing. Or like, how could you let this happen? Or, you know, whatever it is. And then a lot of times it's just like, help. You know? But I don't know.
Yeah.
And I do not believe I am the biggest thing at this point. I believe in something higher than me. There's a higher power out there.
Perfect place to take our last break. Yeah. And we're going to jump right back into that when we come back.
Great.
Thank you. All right, everyone, we're back with our last segment with Amanda Payton, and she just kind of left it off at a beautiful place right before the break, and it's exactly where I love to get in these conversations. Just a thoughtful place where you're starting to try to articulate how do you live with your relationship to God today. Something I thought that was really interesting, and something you said was my God. You made it kind of personal, which I think is cool. And I just, some people talk objectively, so there's what you're saying is, what you said was something like, my relationship to my God is something that revolves with a lot of like, I don't know. But it's an interesting juxtaposition, right?
Yeah.
You have a personal God, my God.
Right.
But also a lot of I don't know.
Yeah.
So you have a personal relationship with something you don't know.
Right, but like, do we
what
really
does that
know
mean?
each other? I mean, we can get into that, but
go
it's
on.
like,
I don't know. Talk
I'm
about what that
learning
means
it's
to you.
It's a new relationship. I mean, relatively.
It's a new relationship to God, is what you're saying.
Yeah, and especially in like the scheme of God and life, right? If God is infinite.
Yeah.
A couple years here that I'm getting to know.
So how did it start? So you said, I know you said it was born during this painful period.
Yeah.
How is it born?
So again, I move at the speed of my own pain. And I think it was just really realizing like, wow, I don't have power over everything. And little by little, that's being revealed to me more and more, all of the things that I don't have power over.
Right.
And if I don't, like, how do I live in this world? How do I live in a world where I am so profoundly powerless? And I think that's a little bit different than the God that my dad was calling on. As he was dying, he was praying a lot and saying, like in the Bible it says, by Jesus' stripes I'm healed, right? So there was a lot of that. There was a lot of like, don't say the word cancer. And it made me angry because I felt like I was robbed of the ability to say goodbye to my dad.
Wow.
Because he never said, like, I'm dying.
Wow.
And I was never able to say, I'll be okay. Like, thank you.
Wow.
For everything that you've done for me. And, like, I'll be okay. And goodbye. I was never able to.
He didn't want to say goodbye.
No, I was never able to.
He was just like, I want to pray for.
He said, I'm gonna be healed. I want to see my grandkids. I don't have any kids yet. We're just like, don't speak death to my life, speak life to my life. And I think this is part of the reason that my mom no longer believes in God, because she was like backing this.
Wow.
And standing behind him in this. And for me, it made me resentful of the God that I was raised with, because it felt like it was taking something away from me. And again, it felt like gaslighting, watching someone die and then say like, I'm not dying, and the person that like taught you everything, So it's really still incredibly hard for me to look at my mother if I think she's wrong on something and be like, stand up and say like, I think you're wrong. Like, I know so many adults can do that with their parents, can just easily be like, well, I think they're wrong on this, that, and the other. It is so hard for me. I just want to believe everything still. I think that's a huge part of growing up that I haven't been able to quite master yet.
Well, and I that resonates with me to some extent. I mean, my dad and we have a very loving relationship with them. I love my parents. I adore them. But, my father and I we differed on my views of politics and religion as I was growing up. And it was very difficult to have. I was always over emotional, always got tied up in knots, as I wanted to try to express this. It's hard to grow up through
hard.
that. And a lot of times you need look, I don't want to make overarching statements about this, but oftentimes I see people either with parents that they didn't have the grounds to earn the respect of their children, so children dismiss them and tell them to fuck off, and so that's how you can get a bunch of no's against your parents. Or more along our lines, we love our parents very much, and they were very, they had very authoritative positions and didn't really allow for a lot of they didn't help cultivate a dialogue of questioning.
Right.
They sort of said, this is the way it is on these issues. Well, it takes a long time.
But then also be a free thinker and question authority.
Right,
but
exactly.
Not mine.
Yeah, but not yours and not on these subjects.
It's so hard to parent. I mean, I can't even imagine.
Yeah, I think that, again, my parents absolutely did the best they could, and they are devout believers, and they are beautiful parents and raised me in a wonderful way. But on this particular thing, it was a struggle for me, and that resonates with me. And so we are saying that even now, talking to your mother about certain issues revolving around this. So now, do you feel like your mother doesn't believe in God, but you almost feel like that's a rejection it's like a way that she could be pissed off at God or something.
Yeah, I think it's 100% a part of the grieving process. I mean, we're talking about someone who from 18 years old she left her parents' home and was directly with this is her first time ever being on her own.
Right.
So I think there's going to be a lot of growing.
She's going through her own growing period.
Oh, yeah, which is so hard for me to see, accept, and stand back. And I almost have to parent it in some ways.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Right.
Which is crazy because I've been on my own, I think, a little more, even though I'm very dependent and I'm very close with my parents.
Sure.
Or with my mother now. So we do like lean on each other a lot and we're very close. But for the first time, I'm able to be like, okay, we have different opinions on that. Like, and it's so tough because to look at the person who looked at you and said, spare the rod and spoil the child, and who raised you by the Bible, for them to say, now I don't believe in God. I'm like, well, that's convenient.
Yeah.
And also I disagree with you. Like I do think that we're not the highest. And I kind
of resent that a little bit.
A little bit. And
I love you.
And
I
I'm
understand
open about it,
you,
which
but
is
I
so
kind
fantastic.
of resent it.
And that's something that my mother and I, that's a gift that we now have. That, I mean, there's a positive that comes out of everything, and like one of the positives that came out of like dealing with my dad's illness and his death is that we have a very honest relationship and there's no gaslighting.
Right.
I will tell her like I disagree with you, and she'll be like, cool, I disagree with you, and it's okay.
Yeah.
And like or I'll tell her like I'm resentful of this, I didn't like this. She'll be like, okay. And it's tough to hear. It's not fun, but it feels a lot better, and we're able to be a lot closer because
very healthy.
There's nothing behind closed doors.
Yeah, it's healthy. It's what an interesting life has put you in this position. You didn't ask for it. You wish you had your dad here.
Yeah.
But
I wish that I could talk to my dad about this new relationship that I have with God.
Yeah, yeah.
Even though I know we'd fight about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you like wonder if he would at least appreciate a little bit that you've come further closer to his.
I'm way closer now than I ever have been to quote unquote God.
Yeah.
Or my higher power or whatever it is. I've never truly leaned on a higher power or a God. There's something that they used to say in church that people will use God as their spare tire and not their steering wheel. And I always was like, okay, but I'm really running my life on self-will. And most of the people in the church are too. We're all really running our life on self-will. And then it'll be like, oh crap, the tire's blown. Someone's sick and dying. Like, let's pray.
Right.
And now I'm really trying to, I pray and meditate. And I think of like prayer as talking to God and meditating as listening. And, I don't know what it is. I don't. Too. Yeah. And I don't know. I'm still like so in the learning process of like how I want to carry out this relationship with God. Like last week I was like writing about like, what do you even ask God for? Right. Cause like I have a 14-year-old dog and like, I don't want her to ever die. So, like, do I ask God to, like, make Harley never die? Like, no, that's not possible. But I can ask God to, like, help me and my feelings around it. And I can ask God for it to be a beautiful experience when it does happen. Yeah. And I can ask God for comfort. And I can ask God for things for other people. But, like, things, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. But I know that what has worked for me is, like, if I ask for changes in myself, that's what usually, those things, that works for me. If I'm like, please, I'm feeling like so jealous, like help me see this in a different way, please. Help me understand that I don't know everything I think I know. Help me stay open-minded.
Are you getting some good feedback there?
Yes, then I do.
Yeah.
And who knows if that's just me talking to my subconscious or what that is, but I do know that I can't do my whole life on my own self-will.
Yeah.
Because my self-will is not that strong. And I can't control everything. I can barely control my damn self.
It's great.
Like, put a chocolate box in front of me. A white chocolate bar. I like white chocolate.
Oh, yeah? Do you sprinkle Splenda on it?
No, it's sweet enough already. Okay. But like
you have white chocolate. I don't want to derail this, but I don't like white chocolate. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I don't know why. I don't even know why.
Put
what makes it different.
put a pizza in front of me.
What makes white chocolate different than dark chocolate?
I don't know. It tastes better.
There's something about the way they process it. Did you say something about peanut butter?
I said pizza.
Oh, pizza.
So put a pizza in front of me. Self-will. I don't know.
It's pasta.
I might eat all the whole pizza.
Pasta.
I don't know.
I'll eat 4 plates of pasta. I get that from my family. So, yeah, I just can't stop it.
Pasta doesn't hit you. The fullness doesn't hit you till later, I feel like.
God, it hits me, and I say it. I have this thing. My children are gonna. I have one child, but they're gonna say, Dad, every time at dinner, why did you always say, I am full, I know I'm full, but I'm making another plate because I want to eat it, and I know I'm going to be hurting afterwards. I'll say this at the dinner table.
That's literally what I'm talking about.
I do that.
Self-will.
I say it out loud.
Like,
my child's going to hear me say that.
You can't control yourself. We can't control our damn selves. How do we think that we're going to self-will our lives into some box that we want it in?
I think these are beautiful thoughts, beautiful questions. I love hearing this stuff. I think you have a lot of really interesting thoughts. I think it's interesting that, you're saying, look, is it my subconscious? If not, what you're saying is, I'm comfortable saying it's my God, and whatever that means to you. You're even acknowledging, maybe I'm talking to my subconscious, but it gives me comfort.
Yeah, I'm also very, very open to the fact that I may be wrong.
Right.
So I'm not going to get mad at anybody else for their ideas. Whatever works for you. Life is hard sometimes.
So then do you believe in a heaven and a hell? Do you go that far now? Does your God represent that there is also an afterlife?
I don't think so, but I don't know. How the heck am I supposed to know?
You're not. No one does.
Yeah.
But it's just talking about whether or not you think so.
Yeah. I have thought that in my life before. Right now, I don't really think so, but I'm also starting to, for the first time in my life, be more comfortable with a gray area.
Yeah.
Yeah, which makes me really uncomfortable.
It makes you uncomfortable. Yeah, okay.
So this is a new gray area for me.
Yeah.
And I think life tends not to be that black or white. Nature tends not to be that black or white.
True.
And so I'm leaning towards the afterlife, whatever it is, not being this black or white, heaven or hell. I think that sounds like a very human desire to want to be able to classify it. It doesn't track with what I know of nature. But I don't know.
Yeah. Look, it's great. That's great. I mean, that's why I love talking about this. I think, what do I want to say about that? I think you said it so well. I don't really know what to say.
I don't know how we're supposed to know.
Yeah. Well, you're not. I mean, I think, Bertrand Russell has this great phrase. He says, he's a British philosopher, and he's dead now, but he said, if I arrive at the pearly gates and God says, and he was a notorious atheist thinker, and he said, if I arrive at the pearly gates and God says, why did you reject me and why weren't you faithful? And he says, because you didn't provide us enough evidence. I think there's different brains need different ways of living in it. And I think something you're going through, it seems, I'll be interested to know years down the line where this takes you. I think you even referenced, I don't know where I'm going, or I don't know where I'm going to end up. I think it'll be interesting to hear if it firms up for you in certain ways, or if it doesn't. It's cool to live in a place of openness, and I don't know. I think it's nice. I feel like I definitely went through a period of stronger rejection to be able to release myself from certain thoughts. And the more I talk about it with people, the more I find that maybe I'm more and more comfortable living in the I don't know.
Is that a result of this show for you?
I definitely feel like I learned.
How has this show? I'm going to turn it around for one second.
That's it.
How has this show?
My turn to get nervous.
Yeah. How has the show changed your view of a God?
Yeah.
Or affected it?
It's too bad. We have to go to a break. Sorry, Amanda. It's my show.
And that's the end.
I think it's a great question, and I think about it a lot because it does. I think it is. I think what it does for me is it allows me to release some of the anger about I really dislike the pain that the political structures of the religions have caused.
Yeah.
I feel like it's just this, historically, just this immense indefensible amount of pain that they've caused on behalf of, in the spirit of, serving this God of these books. All of which I think are anything that you try to anchor in any sort of real factual base, I think is so easy to poke holes in, right? Yeah. No doubt these people existed. No doubt these words were written down. I mean, but, to sit and claim omniscience off of this stuff and then punish and kill people and then that created a lot of anger for me. And even today, right? Like it's all we live with, the pain that this thing causes today, the rejections. But what it does do though for me as I talk to people is it continues to bring me back to the side of the table, which is that we question and we're all trying to figure things out. And so I'm more sympathetic, I think, to the desire to be religious or to have a relationship with God. I'm still less sympathetic to people who will hurt people on behalf of that God. Yeah. But I am more sympathetic to people and to the feeling of wanting God in your life. I think that's a cool thing for me. It's been healthy for me to start going down that road. And I'm just so impressed all the time by the way that people articulate. I've had the great fortune of bringing a lot of smart people in. You're one of them. And to hear your thoughts and your arc on all of this, these really are the great gifts of my life. I get a certain high in the middle of these conversations where I'm like, damn, we're talking about something very cool. Yeah. And you're very honest and generous. And you might feel it, but this is the time for me to close the show. I'm closing it up right now. But Amanda, I mean it. I think that this was just I feel like we caught a moment and something really beautiful got shared. So thank you.
Thank you.
And I can't believe how fast it goes. I appreciate you being here.
Feels like I just did a therapy session.
Yeah,
I should pay you now.
You don't. You have paid me enough by your presence. Everybody, thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. And, I'll see you next week. Bye.